dog's gone. What's going on with you, brother?
Sator has searched you. There is nothing covered up that will not be revealed. What can't be seen in the dark can be shown in the light.
Do you know what these are?
It's my handwriting, but I can't read it anymore here.
They're your automatic writings.
Yeah. Oh.
You'd get in trances and
Yeah.
spirits would write for you.
Yeah, well, somewhere along the line there, I wanted to have something going on in my life. The next thing I found out was that in my head I was being told about things. For a long time there, I was writing down stuff that was given to me, like people talking to me. So I would listen. I just listen and write down what was being said in my head. You know, I had access to them. Even now, I can see them, the people, hopping around in my head. Oh.
Did you know Mom was also able to hear them?
Your mother you're talking about?
Mhm.
No.
I think she was trying to join them.
Well, good possibility, yeah.
Look at this one. They have chosen you from the furnace of affliction. You may now present an offering by fire before purification as a soothing aroma to Sator.
as one of his disciples. I am now waiting for your burnt offering. I delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices just as much as you obeying my voice.
Hi, welcome to Dissecting Horror. I'm Michelle Swope with Dread Central. Tonight we're going to be talking about the new film Sator. And we've got the writer, director, editor, cinematographer, he did everything, Jordan Graham. We're also joined by Michael Daniel, who plays Pete in the film, Rachel Johnson, who plays Abby, and Aurora Lowe, who plays Deborah. Welcome, everyone.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thanks
having
so
us.
much for being here. I've actually watched Sator twice in the past couple of weeks. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it.
Nice.
For anyone in the audience who hasn't seen it yet, it tells the story of a troubled family that's coping with mental illness, isolation, and possibly a demonic type entity. Jordan, I know that this film is based on experiences that have been going on in your family for generations.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you go really far back, so my great great grandmother had voices in her head and ended up in a psychiatric hospital, and my great grandmother also had voices in her head and killed herself because of it. And my grandmother, when she was 40, she came in possession of a Ouija board, and that's where she conjured up Sator and a whole bunch of other voices, and she became obsessed with Sator, and um, he taught her how to do something called automatic writings, which are basically, these were hers. So this is just one page. So she it was in 1968, July 1968, and then she had about this much within 3 months, and at the end of that 3 months, she ended up in a psychiatric hospital herself. And so that was the inspiration. I didn't know any of this until we started shooting the film. There wasn't even supposed to be a part of this project at all until I used her cabin or her house as a location for the film, and told this guy we're going to do an improvisational scene with her, and if it works, we'll use it. If not, then I won't. And I told him that he's going to come in and pretend to be the grandson. You're going to meet her on camera, and you're going to talk about spirits. And that's when she decided to share the automatic writings and
Wow. So then she actually, you think, opened maybe a doorway with a Ouija board, and Sator came in.
that's what she did. I mean, I think it's just a product of mental health, mainly with her. But yes, Sator came to her through a Ouija board.
Wow. Well, we've got a question from Greg Green. He says, Jordan, how does your family feel about you making uh, their experiences the subject of this movie?
Uh, well, they're really proud of it. I mean, they've been I've been trying to make films now for 21 years, and so they're just happy that I'm starting to get some recognition. But as far as we don't really talk about Sator very much as a family or as when we're all together, because they like to get in arguments and debates on who Sator is to everybody, and like Sator is to my mom like a friendly being, and to my grandma or to my aunt, he is Satan. So, but they're proud of the film.
Well, I know it took you 7 years to finish this film. Can you tell us a little bit about why it took so long?
I did it all myself, pretty much, except for, I mean, I had these guys here. Most days shooting was just myself with one or two of them, and then in post production was completely on my own. So very tedious work.
Yeah, you did literally everything.
Yes.
And for the cast, Michael, Rachel, and Aurora, I wanted to know, Jordan kind of shared with me that you guys haven't really talked about this movie before with anyone until tonight. And I wanted to know, what was it like filming and, a story that's based on things that his family went through?
Okay, I got to kind of stop for one moment with that, is because they didn't know really about that.
I was
So
actually
much.
I was going to interject while we were filming. I didn't know a lot about Jordan's family history with mental illness. I didn't know who Sator was. I kind of learned about that whole thing while we were making the film, and more about it after the film was made.
So,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say basically the same thing, because his original script was completely different. And we had all seen the original script. And, he talked to us about our characters and our character profiles and all that. And just as we were shooting and filming, the story was changing as he had his interviews with his grandmother. So yeah, it was really kind of an organic kind of way of filming. So we weren't aware, but everything seemed very, very natural. Just and Nani was a natural with her acting. I'll say quote acting, because everything that Nani was saying is like completely her. Yeah. So
I was going to ask what it was like for you guys working with her, working with June, Jordan's grandmother.
Well, first, when Jordan asked me to do the improv scene and pretend I was her grandson, I didn't want to do it at first. I was really nervous. I was like, I don't know. But Jordan gave me some good convincing, and I'm glad I did it, because I really liked that scene and how it turned out. It was kind of genuine, and she kind of started explaining about her automatic writing, and so yeah, it took me a little bit to do that, but I enjoyed it. And June is, bless her soul, she was really fun to hang out with, even when we weren't filming and we were talking and stuff. So
yeah, I was definitely nervous in the beginning, and Jordan said, "It's okay, just do it." And I had met her at a couple functions before, and so I felt fine talking to her. But then, that one scene where she talks about her husband like going outside, laying down in the grass and dying, I was like, my eyes like bugged out. I swear, I was like, "Jordan, is that real? What happened?" And so that was a really interesting. But she was always just so pleasant, and just like loved having us over, and it was really great.
Yeah, with that, because she said that in that scene, my grandfather went out in the grass and died, but my grandfather died of lung cancer, and that did not happen, and we have no idea where that came from when we were shooting, and she said it multiple times. So that was pretty interesting.
Wow. So then you just kind of incorporated that story into the film, right? Because I know that there's a conversation, I think, about whether or not maybe it was some kind of sacrifice or something.
Yeah. So yeah, after stuff like that, I would take a week-long break and try figuring out how to make it work in the film. And since I financed the film basically myself, and I didn't have any like schedule, so I had all the time in the world to.
Wow, that is so fascinating because this movie is really creepy. Like you did such an amazing job of establishing this total feeling of dread and isolation. Uh, yeah, with the way that the way the movie looks. And I was going to ask, um, can you talk a little bit about lighting? How you lit the film and where you guys filmed?
Yeah, so I'll talk about the lighting, then he can say where we filmed, I guess. So yeah, for interior stuff, I had Ari Fresnel, that's how you say it, light kit for a light kit. I used a couple of those mainly to light the cabin, and then as far as exterior stuff, that was all natural light, and I had one like major rule of where there's no evidence of sun. I didn't want to see any sun peeking through the trees. I'm so used to working with with cameras with horrible dynamic range, and so things would either be overexposed while underexposed at the same time. So I wanted this like very soft, atmospheric, beautiful look. And so we would go out to a location sometimes and wait hours for the sun just to get to the behind the trees. And yeah, so where did we shoot, Mikey?
Well, we shot Jordan's backyard in his amazing set that he made in his mom's backyard. That was pretty cool. We shot in Bonnie Doon, which is in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and your grandma's house, which is also another part of the Santa Cruz Mountains. Where else?
What about that road?
What road?
With the truck.
Oh yeah, where was that?
No, not where, but just
in like Nicene Marks or something.
Yeah, but I mean, just like how the truck broke down.
Oh yeah, so we filmed in this road, and the truck broke down. We were sitting there for hours, and actually, if I remember correctly, I had a date, a first date.
Did you?
Yeah, that was my first date with Leticia, and I had to tell her I was going to be late. We didn't have service, anyways. That's another story. But we were broken down in the middle of the woods, and it wasn't that much fun. But
and that happened multiple times.
Yep.
Yeah, we had to get like a tow truck out there.
And we filmed in Yosemite in the snow. Some of my favorite scene towards the end of the film, when my character is walking through the snow. That was pretty epic. That was probably one of the most epic locations I've ever been in my life, let alone.
We got up at the second day that we went. We got up at like we couldn't afford I couldn't afford a hotel. I did we shot in Yosemite 2 days, a couple months apart, and the second day I couldn't afford a hotel, so we got up super early, drove like at 2 o'clock in the morning, drove 3 hours out to Yosemite, and then it was just us, and the snow was just falling down, collapsing on trees. And
yeah, I made a friend with a coyote too.
Yeah.
Random coyote. I don't know if you guys remember that little shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, the snow is like up to your knees.
It was only supposed to be that day. It was going to be 30% chance of snowing and a half an inch. So we got and that was the last day before, like I really wanted snow on the trees, and we were running out of winter. And so it's like, I just need to go up there and just get footage. I don't care if it's snowing anymore. I just need to get snow on the ground, because that beautiful opening shot of the snow, I got that before. And so it's like, I need to have snow in this somehow. So that was it was so lucky that we got the snow like we did. But it was scary. Like we were driving there, and the snow was packed up on the road, and we were the only ones out there without chains on our tires. And then a car like slipped, and another car that passed us, the only car that we saw that whole time, and it turned sideways and went like 10 car lengths down the road. And yeah, that was a fun time.
Wow.
That was 5 years ago.
Wow.
I just got a notification. That was 5 years ago.
Wow.
We did that. Yeah.
I just had a question for the audience. Someone's asking where they can see Sator, and I apologize for not saying that when we started. It is on VOD. I believe it's on Amazon, iTunes, Google Play. It's on several platforms available now. So you can watch Sator tonight after this panel, and I recommend that you do. Rachel, I have a question for you about your character, Evie. She's such an unusual character.
Mm.
And I don't know, this might be giving too much away, but at one point in the movie, I was trying to figure out in my head if I thought she was Sator, or exactly what was going on with her, because she's has some really unusual scenes. How did you get inside that character's head for some of the stranger scenes?
Yeah, so Evie is a pretty ambiguous character, kind of open to interpretation, and that was done sort of on purpose. And I'm not sure how much Jordan wants me to say or not say, but it's kind of, she's kind of done in a way so that your mind does sort of wander, wondering, you know, if she's there, if she's not there, if she's good, if she's, you know, malevolent. And Mikey's character, Pete, mentions Evie a couple times, you know, like hinting at, you know, a previous friendship, relationship, something previously. And then Evie has kind of alluded also to, you know, how they were in a car accident, and how Pete made it out okay. And then it kind of makes you wonder, well, what about Evie? So the whole character is pretty open to interpretation, and I don't really think that there is a definite answer of who or what she is. It's kind of left to interpretation.
Yeah, and I went back and forth, you know, several times in my head during the movie. I thought, was she Sator? And like you just said, you know, she is mentioned by Michael's character. So I thought, well, maybe she's a real person, you know, and yeah, that's really interesting. It's just kind of left up to the viewer. And again, not trying to give too much away, but Michael, there is a scene where your beard happens to be on fire.
Yeah.
Not giving
I
too much
just wanted
away.
to know. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's just, no, it's great. I don't care about spoilers. That's fine. But yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. So go ahead. So yeah, my beard
I
was.
just wanted to know what that was like. That because Jordan said that you actually set your beard on fire for real.
We did. Yeah, and miraculously, I didn't really my face didn't get burnt. I actually had to grow my beard out for the film for a couple years. I don't remember how long I did, but
7 months.
Really, 7 months? I thought I had it way longer than that. Anyways, I had a really big beard, and so yeah, we wanted to light it on fire, and we kind of, how many takes did we do? We did maybe three takes.
Well, we did a ton of takes because it went light on fire, and then
we used lighter fluid.
Yeah.
And, worked great.
So I remember because
that
was one of the days when we actually had multiple people on set so that it could be done safely. I'm sorry if I'm interjecting, because I remember that decision being made. So I remember, you know, we're trying to light his beard on fire. It wasn't catching, and it just smelled like burnt hair, and it was just like nothing was happening. And then Mikey had the idea of putting lighter fluid on his beard, and Jordan saying like, no, like that's ridiculous, that's crazy, don't do that. But that's what we did. Like we used, I think, a paintbrush to like kind of paint it on his beard.
Yeah. And then we had I think your mom had the hose, someone had a hose. So every time, like, I tried to hold my beard or hold it as long as I could for the shot, that long, you know, enough necessary time. But yeah, then I get my face sprayed down with the hose, and then Jordan checked the shot, like, well, let's do it again. And,
because there was a blooper. He's on that shot, he's holding on to the furnace, but the furnace was actually on fire. So he, I had to put a log there so he didn't burn his hand. You can see that log in the shot. I ended up using the shot. You can still see the log in there. But so yeah, we did.
Yeah, twice. And the only part of my face I got burnt was my earlobe. Because the tip of the flames, my beard was covered, or my face was covered by my beard, but there's a few flame tips that kind of burnt my earlobe a little bit. And so
I think we were only able to do like 3 takes with that before his beard started to not be enough to light on fire anymore.
And this wasn't my idea, by the way. I did not. He came to me a week before we were going to shoot the scene, and the scene was supposed to go a different way. And he's like, I want to burn my beard for the film. And so I made him I said, "What? You're going to sign something to say this is on you," and he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
So the whole film. So I shot for 120 days. Most of those days was just myself and one other actor. I did have 10 days or so there where I had people, one person assist me doing basic tasks and like holding an umbrella when it rained. And then there was that day, that was my one big day where I had 3 people help me for an hour. If people are interested in that.
wow. Well, Jordan, I did want to go back a little bit to sort of what we were talking about earlier. So you don't personally believe that Sator is real?
No, and even like in my grandmother's journal, she even the way she kind of explains it seems like he's not real, even though she does believe it. She believes it fully, but it's just it's hard to explain the way she explains it. It just, I see a person suffering with mental health more than anything when I'm reading her journal. And yeah, no, I don't think so, but that's all right. So.
Well, how did June feel about you making this movie? I mean, I know she was suffering from dementia, correct?
Yes. How does she feel about it? Oh, well, she just loved the attention mainly. She would call me up every day when I'm not shooting with her and be like, "Hey, when are your friends going to come over and hang out with us?" And so she just loved the attention and loved that we were hanging out with her. And yeah, she wasn't able to, so she passed. She wasn't able to see the film. She saw a clip of herself though. And yeah, so that's one thing. She did see one clip of herself, and her only response was, "Who is that old goat?" And that was it. Yeah.
Well,
You have to say it the way that she would have said it, Jordan. So I can just I can see Nani and like her personality, and like she's kind of like this like spunky like Nani kind of thing, and she would see her face and who's that old goat, like come on, you got to give it a little more, yeah, more. Yeah. I mean, Nani was she's quite a character.
She was kind of like a spitfire. Like she kind of said funny things and didn't care if she said something that pissed someone off. Just she.
Oh
was
yeah,
fun.
no filter. Yeah. She's fun.
Yeah.
I bet that was fun. I bet that was a lot of fun. Well, Michael and Aurora, I know that both of you have known Jordan for a long time, right? Like junior high and high school.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
What is it like all these years later to be making a feature film with him?
Well, I think one thing, so Jordan used to make films in high school. He was like the guy who made all the films for all the rallies, and everyone wanted to be in them. And I would always tell him, like, I was one of the only people with like an acting background. And I was like, Jordan, why am I not in one of your movies?
You were in one. You were the prostitute in the bar.
Yeah, okay, I got one, but and then he kept on saying, "Oh, I'm saving a good one for you," stuff like that, right? And so one day he actually called me up and invited me to be in it, and it's cool. I mean, Jordan and both Mikey and Jordan, they're like brothers. Like I've known them forever. We hang out, we're friends. Like it was a fun experience. And I think finally though, when Jordan actually asked me to be in the movie, I was already pregnant, and I was like, "What are you thinking?"
Yeah, she was 8 months pregnant when we were doing all of her scenes.
Yeah. So I was actually 8 months pregnant with my first child, and when we finished the film and did the other scenes, I was 5 months pregnant with my second child. So
yeah, you're doing
yeah,
that's how long it took.
And there was, I know Jordan told me something about you didn't like having to scream.
So we did this scene, or it was for voice, and he drove me out into the mountains of Bonnie Doon up in Santa Cruz Mountains, and literally just picked a spot, pulled over, and was like, this is where you're gonna scream. Okay, so we're on. So I screamed, but it wasn't just like one or two times. Like there was cars that kept driving by. So he'd go, oh, the sound wasn't good enough. I heard the car. There was dogs in the distance. And so I screamed, I mean, 100 times probably. And at one point, a guy came out and was like, is anyone out there who's hurt? And was screaming, like trying to save me. And we were like, we're making a movie.
I made all of them.
So it was just like,
oh, sorry.
I was just so embarrassed, like just, oh my God, I was like, what if they call the police? What if people come out here, you know? And people would stare at us coming by. But now looking back, it was so fun. But just then, I think I was just so freaked out.
Oh, that's crazy. That is so crazy. Well, Jordan, I know, like we talked about before, you did basically everything yourself on this movie, and it took you 7 years. What was your creative process during that time, during the 7 years?
It was, I mean, it was really just one step at a time. When I was building the cabin, that's where I kind of had a panic. The very first day I built the cabin, because I was laying like the foundation, which was made out of pallets that I found around town, and I had to level out the backyard, and it took lay one pallet took me like an hour. So I was at that moment, I started panicking and being like, I have so much to do, like build the cabin and then shoot and everything. And then at that moment, I was like, okay, just one step at a time. And that's basically what it kind of was. Like I just took time, built the cabin. When that was done, it's like, okay, it's time to start shooting. So then we get into shooting, and I don't know if like that's like with the creative process, but that was just kind of like my mental state. And then when we got into when I got into post-production, then it was just myself alone for years, creating everything. And I had to learn everything. Like I never used the editing. I've edited plenty of stuff before, but I never used that editing software before. I've never color graded anything before, so I had to learn DaVinci Resolve while I was coloring the film, which took me 1,000 hours. And then all the audio you hear in the film, since I built the cabin in my mom's backyard and it's not insulated at all, and none of the audio was usable. So besides my grandmother speaking, all the audio that you hear in the film I had to do from scratch. So it took me. And I didn't want to use I wanted it to be mine. I didn't want to use anybody's sound libraries. So it took me 1 year and 4 months just to record the audio. And then I had to learn the software, I mixed it in Audition. So then I had to learn how to mix in 5.1, and it was, yeah, that was my process, but I don't know if that was the creative process, but it was creative. That was creative, right?
That is amazing, because I really am impressed with this movie. I think out of the movies that are coming out right now, I think this is the one that people are going to be talking about, because I haven't stopped thinking about it. And I wanted to ask, I asked you, Jordan, how you feel about Sator being real or not, but I want to know, what does everyone else think? Michael, Aurora, and Rachel, do you guys have any differing opinions about Sator?
I don't know. I think Sator is real to Jordan's grandma and to his family, obviously through the automatic writing and what you hear, the stories that Jordan's telling. But yeah, that's my only opinion. Like, real to whoever Sator is to the person. But I mean, I'm probably with Jordan that Sator's a figment of someone's imagination, but that's my opinion.
I agree. I have family members with mental illness similar to this, and I think that it is very much real to them, and that the brain is an amazing thing and can conjure up all sorts of good and bad, and it was definitely real to her. But as far as real in reality, I don't know about that.
And I kind of have the same mind about it. I sometimes joke with Jordan's mom about bringing an Ouija board into her house just to play, just, like normal people do. And she does not want that in her house. So, and just, I don't know if it's, superstition or how much she believes it either, but I can feel the presence of, Sator or any other of these malevolent beings, just through how other people in Jordan's family have acted around that. So Nani and his mother, I know truly believe it, but myself, I don't know. That's hard. I believe that they believe, so I think that Sator could be real for them. But I don't know. I don't know.
Interesting. That's interesting. Well, Jordan, this movie is kind of a hybrid of a documentary and a fictional story. And you said that when you started making the movie, you weren't aware of Sator or that
I was only aware of that he's been like, I've always known about Sator, just that he is a guardian of my grandmother, and that's it. That's the extent, because his name would be dropped every once in a while, but I didn't know anything about him until I was in post-production with this film. So he didn't even come into this film until I was already done shooting. And that's because dementia got really bad for my grandmother when we were done shooting, and we had to move her into a care home. And as I was cleaning out her back room, that's when I found 2 boxes. One is, I don't know if I showed this already, but one is all of her automatic writings, which are a whole box full of those.
Wow.
And then another box was a 1,000-page journal documenting those 3 months with him. And so that's when I got to learn all about him. And my family refuses to read that journal. So I know more about their past with Sator now than they do.
So you did you set out to make it part documentary, or was that during the process?
That was just all during the process. I was not, I'm really glad I did. And I was always trying to figure out the most unique way of making this film. Like, it started like, okay, I'm gonna do this myself. This is gonna be the most unique way that I can do this film. And then when I learned about my grandmother and her, and just the voices in her head and the automatic writing, then it's like, okay, now this is a really, really unique way of bringing something personal to the film. And then from that point on, it was like, how many different little personal things I can put in the project. So when you see my the flashback scene, it's a birthday party flashback scene. I knew I was going to have a flashback scene, but I didn't know how I was going to shoot it yet. And my mom just happened to get a bunch of hi-8 tapes, home movie hi-8 tapes transferred to DVD. And I was just going through them. I wasn't looking for anything to use in the film. I was just watching them. And then I come across that birthday, and it's in my grandmother's house, and the house looks exactly the same as when we were shooting it. And this was 25 years ago at the time, 30 years ago now. And and looking at the scene, my grandmother is off to one side, and my grandfather's off to the other side, and that just left this middle section open for me to create my own scene. So I went out and I bought the same camera, I bought the same tapes, made similar looking presents and similar looking cake. That was his last day, so I had him share. That was Aurora's. Was that your first day? I don't know, maybe not. No, that
no.
Shot a scene around that footage, and then in editing, I incorporated that footage in there. So, yeah, that was real, like, home movie stuff from 30 years ago.
Wow. Yeah, that's kind of what I mean, that's what it seems like, that's what I kind of thought. It's such a unique film because it blends the documentary with, a fictional story. And I think that's one of the, that's what makes it stand out. Well, one of the things.
Yeah, thank you. I agree too. I agree. Like, I feel like that was that's definitely, I feel like one of the main reasons why the film is getting some attention is because of that true story aspect, and how personal it was to me and my family.
Yeah, well, that's actually, I was just gonna say how personal this movie feels, and it had to be extremely personal for you. What are you hoping that audiences will take away from the film?
Oh man, that's I was asked that question earlier, and I don't know. I don't like that. I mean, take away from me that I care so much about this medium, and that maybe I have something valuable in this medium that people want to work with me. But as far as the film, I don't think I've ever really thought about that. I've thought about how people should go into the film, not what they would take away, but how they should feel going into it, and just kind of allow yourself. Don't go in expecting to know the plot right away, and like just go in wanting to get yourself into a mood, a trance-like mood, and just allow yourself to kind of feel the movie. I think you'll enjoy it a lot more if you do that.
And can I add something to that? Because I know that the film does resonate a lot with people regarding the mental illness sort of message. And for what I would take away from this movie is really how precious our time is with our family members. And I know that, a lot of us do have family suffering mental health issues, dementia, things like that, and how real what their experiences are to them. And even though, us as outsiders may not be feeling the same thing that they are, that what they're going through is incredibly real, and to be sensitive to that, and just how influenced their lives are around it. So I think that is a big thing that a lot of people are taking away from it, is just sort of that connection of mental illness in their family, and trying to be there as a support for their family, because of how real it is.
And on that same note, I think to hold compassion for people is always something I think that, and also seems like society's starting to bring out more to the public, to hold compassion. And then also, I think one thing that we always talk about kind of in the acting side of it is hold space for silence. And I think this movie really resonates with that, in terms of people are so often caught up with talking, always talking, and being nervous about silence. And this movie is such a powerful thing when it comes to just feeling it, and really taking in that silence, and really kind of finding special things within it too.
Yeah, definitely. I really, yeah, absolutely. We have a question from the audience, changing gears a little bit. Jordan, someone would like to know if you have any advice for other independent filmmakers.
I thought about that for a while, but you have to be like in my circumstance, I guess. Like, I was lucky to where I had all the time in the world to make this film. So if you can get in that situation, it would be just take your time and get it right. People rush, understandably, to get the films done because they're on a schedule, and they, like, if you're with a studio and you need to get your film out there or whatever. But like, if you're in a situation like me where I'm trying to get myself out there in the world, and I'm a nobody yet, take your time. That's what I feel like. Yeah, I think that's the biggest one.
Yeah,
like,
well, you took 7 years to make this movie, so
I don't take that, not that amount of time. That amount of time. I was expecting it to be 3 years. I don't recommend make a film by yourself. That's for sure. That took way too much out of me. But find like a good group of people that you can work with. Like, if I just had one person If I just had one person help me like carry the tripod, like that would have made a world of difference. So definitely find a good group of people, but also if you can take the time to take the time, then I
I
recommend.
think also just the perseverance and believing in yourself, because I remember at the very beginning, Jordan was told like that's an impossible thing to do. What
Yeah.
he was saying.
That was one of the reasons why I made it by myself, was because I tried doing crowdfunding and that failed, and I was in kind of a low spot, and somebody, multiple people, filmmakers, local filmmakers in my area came to me and was like, we want to give you advice on how to move forward. I'm like, yes, let's do it. And so I met up with them at different times, and all their advice was like talking down to me and telling me like, you need this and this. And it's like, yes, I would love to have that, but I don't have the means. And you're basically saying, I'm not good enough to do this. So if I do get a budget, I'm going to prove to you and to other filmmakers that you can make a film without of quality, without all the bells and whistles. I had another, just make a ton of stuff. That's, I've been trying now for 21 years to get noticed. And that is because now that's maybe starting to happen, is that I just keep shooting stuff and movies, not shooting guns. Yeah, so just keep make small projects. Even short films are great. Just keep doing a bunch of short films and maybe find your style. If you're trying to be like a director or whatnot, short film or music videos are great, because that's a good way of making short stories without having to worry about the audio at all, because the track is already there. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I wanted to ask what, I know we're still in the middle of a pandemic, but I want to know what everyone's working on next.
Well, as far as movie, you want to know what I'm working on next?
Yeah.
Well, right now it's writing because we're in a pandemic. I have 2 scripts. One I spent a couple years writing. It's still kind of a heavy subject matter, though. It's influenced by the child abductions that went on around Belgium in the 90s. So that's one that I finished, but now I'm writing something a little bit still dark, but it's a lot more fun, and it's about a impossibly long shipping container with a cosmic horror like feel to it. And that's all the information I'll give on that.
Wow.
On the stories, but I'm just writing, so for right now, and seeing what the film does, seeing what doors open,
Yeah, exactly. Well, what about everyone else? Michael, Rachel, and Aurora.
Well, I'm not really doing I don't have any like acting gigs, or anything, but I have my own production company. We do documentary films, so that's what I'm working on.
And I'm back to my day job of teaching and just waiting for Jordan's next movie to get made. Hopefully I can be in that one too.
That's what I called Jordan today. I said, you're putting me in your next movie, right? I'm really, obviously I have my day job of, I'm a local realtor in Santa Cruz, but my hope is that one day theater will come back, because that's my true passion. And of course I would definitely want a part in Jordan's next one, but theater is just, there's got to be a way to put it outdoors more. So hopefully we can get to that.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm really impressed with this movie. It just, the atmosphere, the way it kind of sucks you in, it gets under your skin, is it real? Is it not real? And you're also, like you guys talked about, talking about mental illness and having compassion for people who might be going through something like this. But it's just such a fascinating movie. And I think everyone did such an amazing job. So I have to say congratulations to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely feel like people are going to be talking about this. I know it just landed on VOD yesterday, but I think once more people have a chance to see it, I really expect to see a lot of conversations about this movie.
Cool. I hope so too. That'd be nice. So we'll see.
And Jordan
I
deserves
think we
it. He's
Yeah,
been doing
I'm
this
very
for so
proud of
long.
him because I mean, I was there and seeing everything that he was going through with working on this all by himself, and the post-production I know was probably the hardest for him. Him trying to figure out how to soundproof, everything on his own and
Tell
making all of his.
the story real quick, Rachel, about the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, what? Oh, about the backyard.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, he had to do every single sound in post, except for Nani talking, of course, because she wasn't acting, that was her. But one of my favorites is when the main character is like sloshing like through the river, getting away from Sator or whatever. Jordan had to make that sound in post, and so what he had to do was dig a ditch in his mom's backyard and splash around in it. But he couldn't just do that. It had to be in the middle of the night so that there's like no traffic sounds, no dog sounds, no nothing. So he was doing it, but then, like his pants were making noise. So he had to take his pants off. And so he's like in the middle of the night, like sloshing around in this like ditch puddle that he made in his boxers. And I think even his neighbors may have heard like, what's going on in that yard?
Yeah, the neighbors definitely called my mom the next day and like, what was that?
And I think he even dropped his phone in there.
I really,
yeah. But it like he just like goes above and beyond and trying to like think outside the box of like how to make everything work. And that was just one of my favorites. Like I just have this image of him like marching in this like mud puddle in the backyard, which was kind of hilarious. And then like all of the sound too, like the like the ambiance in the background. I don't know if he talked about it yet, but like doing like pots and pans, like and slowing it down. And I mean, I think that the way that he was able to figure out I'm just so proud that he was able to do everything by himself.
Yeah, she touched that on with the pots and pans. So that's the score of the film. I'm not a musician, but that's all I used I had pots and pans and nuts and bolts. And then I had a bass guitar that I plugged into the computer and had a violin bow and just made sound effects. I couldn't play any notes, but I just made sound effects. And that's all I did for the score of the film.
Wow. Oh, wow. I have a couple of questions from the audience. Let me see where to go. I need it again. Someone asked, Jordan, did you look into the Zozo demon, and how do you feel about comparing that to your family's experiences?
I don't know what the Zozo demon is. I don't think I'm sorry, I don't think I know what that is.
You're not familiar?
I don't think so. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I feel like I've heard of that, but I don't think I know what that is. So no, there's no comparison. I wasn't trying to think of other demons. I was just trying to get my grandmother's words out of her mouth. And because there was times where it was hard for her to even say things about Sator in general. The
Zozo demon is, I just looked it up. It's linked with the Ouija board or somehow.
Oh, is that what that movie where there's a movie where they're like zo?
I'm not sure. That's what I'm reading on there.
Okay. I wasn't thinking about demons or anything. I was just trying to thinking about my grandmother and her and trying to get her to tell her story as much as possible. So
to touch on that real quick, when I was sitting with her and I had some of the writings and the drawings were really trippy. Like those are they're very interesting, and she would look over at them and she recognized what they were. Definitely.
Oh, that is my hand.
Knew. I mean, it was really interesting, but yeah,
that feels like such a genuine scene.
It was.
That's the crazy part. I mean, we really were, and like I said, the stuff she was saying, I mean, I had to ask Jordan. I was like, what was she talking? Like, what was that? You know, was that real? Was that story real? And he's like, no, I don't know. But
yeah, I wrote a whole monologue for Aurora in case my grandmother wasn't going to be able to speak. But then, so Aurora had like a whole monologue to say, which she eventually got all of her words in. But my grandmother stole the show. So sorry, Aurora, I'm going to cut most of your dialogue.
No, she did.
And my grandmother said basically everything. But again, I had to make it work for the film. But yeah, okay, yeah, I'm trying.
Well, I have another question from the audience for Jordan. Someone asks, what inspired your character design? I think they're referring to Sator. Was it inspired at all by the Wendigo?
No. So my big inspiration was the Blair Witch Project, because I love how you don't see the witch at the end, and I would have done that in this film, but since the film does have a slow pace, I would have been cheating the audience, I feel like. So I was trying to figure out like what would be a really cool way to see something but not see something. And I was thinking like, okay, like since this film is very quiet, you don't hear any birds or animals except for the crows in the film. So I was like, oh, okay, so this entity has killed everything in the area, all the animals in the area, and decided to wear it. And I bought about 60 dead things off Etsy and stitched it all together. Like you can, so like this thing, and that's one. I don't have any more of them here, but yeah. So I didn't want to have like, I wanted to, whatever was underneath be the mystery. You don't know, like obviously that's a costume. But I wanted the definitely like what is under there? Is it a spirit? Is there an actual person? While still having something creepy that's not like a rubber mask or something. I want it to be organic from like the forest. So.
Well, there's even a couple of scenes where it appears to have like these big claws, kind of like when it's coming.
Yeah. So I bought a for that, it was like a beaver. There was mice on each finger. Then the claws were raccoon jaws, and that was Rachel actually wearing the hand, because the when you see, like you can see it in the trailer, but that's Sator in there, and the deer skull was way too small for anybody to wear. So I built like a cross, a wooden cross, and then I put the ram skull on top of it and the costume on top of that, and then I tied a fishing line to the ram skull and then pulled it so it looked like the head was moving. And then like that also had a necklace of raccoon skulls, and yeah.
There was actual like skulls, raccoon skulls?
Yeah. You can buy all sorts of things off. I bought rat tails, even though I couldn't use them, but so I bought like, there was each arm had 3 coyotes on it, and then I had a fox, and there's a skunk, and I had a boar, and I think there's a raccoon eat, but there was like a belt, and along the belt was a bunch of possum faces. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that makes it even creepier for me now that you told me that. Like, yeah. I feel even more creeped out.
And no one could see anything while wearing that too, because I had to take a Dremel saw and I had to hollow this out, and then I would put a sock in there, and then they would wear it, but no one could see. So like I put a coyote fur over it, and sorry, Mikey. And then they had to be very careful, because there's like near the end, you see a whole bunch of them walking into like the cabin, but I don't, I only made one costume, so I had to do like camera trickery. And that was my cousin wearing the costume, but he couldn't see, and he was walking right towards, there's candles all lit up. And so he almost was the second person I almost put on fire. But yeah. So.
Wow. This just sounds like such an interesting experience making this movie, like everything about it that you shared. Yeah, it's just fascinating because I'm kind of obsessed with this movie. I've watched it twice in the past couple of weeks, and I really love it. And again, congratulations. Like I said, it's such a unique movie.
Thank you.
It's part documentary. You know, is it real? Is it not real? Part fiction. And yeah, but you guys did such an amazing job. So yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. I'm glad it's out there finally. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And thank you again so much for being here with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right.
You.
So what do we do now? We wrapped up?
I think we're wrapped up.
Everyone, Sators.
Okay, go watch Spectre. Oh, no worries.